We now invite DGE Brian to welcome you to this evening's session. DGE Brian, over to you.
Thank you, incoming district trainer Leah. And there's some feedback on someone's. Okay, I think that's sorted out. Good afternoon, everyone. And well, we've got good news and we've got great news. So I'll start with the good news. The good news is that our virtual training sessions are coming to an end. But the great news is that a week from today, that's Wednesday of next week, most of us get to meet in person in Grenada at our virtual pet session. So I'm really looking forward to that. I trust all of you who are attending are looking forward to that as well, where we get to network and meet each other, some of us for the first time. So having said all that, I'd like to welcome our two guest presenters for today, Mike, our zone membership coordinator, and Natalie, who is our district membership chair. So welcome to Mike and Natalie. Welcome to the district training team, and welcome to all of you, president-elect, secretaries-elect, board members, and PDGs. So thanks a lot for joining the session, and let's make it a really good session. So back to you, Leah.
Thanks so much, DGE Brian. We also have another guest presenter with us this evening, PDG Cindy Horniman from District 7430. She'll be presenting on—
My apologies, Cindy.
Planning. That's okay. We will invite District Membership Chair Natalie to introduce the presenters for our first presentation. District Membership Chair Natalie, over to you.
Thank you, Leah. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we are going to talk to you about how to help your members to get engaged so your club grows and makes your community proud. I'm Nathalie Gilles, the district membership chair for our district of 7030. I was the charter president of Cheshire Club from 2007 to 2009, and I'll be working with all of your clubs to help you make it even better next year. We have two panelists tonight. We will talk about membership and about the new membership action plan. The first is Lael Chase. Lael was president of the Rotary Club of Grosillais in 1993 to 1995 and was district governor of our district from 2020 to 2021. Since then, he has been working on the zone membership team. Our other panelist is Mike Dara. He became membership chair for District 6970 in NE, Florida in 2015. Then he was district governor in 2019. Since then, he has worked with our Zone 34 membership team to help clubs develop into irresistible clubs, the sort of clubs that members love to come to. He's worked for the past 18 months with our partners on 33 to develop the new membership action plan, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Tonight, we will take 30 minutes to give you some critical things you need to do so you build a strong members. Then we'll introduce you to the membership action plan, or MAP. It is a great tool to help you spot opportunities to make your club even better. We won't make you an expert on MAP, but we will show you how to find your club's information along with some simple actions that are customized for your club. We have 30 minutes, so we will cover the basics in 20 minutes and leave 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. Lyle, how about starting us off?
Thank you, Natalie. I'm hearing some feedback somewhere.
Maman, c'est quoi?
I think thanks, Valerie. I noticed our district governor is here, so let me shout him out. Hi, DG and DGE, Brian, and past district governor Cindy, and the rest, and Mike, our Rotary coordinator for Zone 34. I'm actually his assistant, and I have responsibility for the Caribbean area, the 3 districts, 70, 20, 7,000, and 70, 30. So having said that, we're going to do a little bit of a little backwards and forwards between Mike, myself, and Natalie tonight to try and make the whole presentation a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to start off with my brother Mike, who is coming to us all the way from New Mexico. He's on holiday and he's agreed to come and do this session. And Mike, you are a real Rotary all-rounder. You've touched every aspect of Rotary: foundation, PI, and membership. So why would you say that Rotary membership, is of the top importance to our PEs in the year ahead?
Well, I will jump into that in a second, and I do thank you for inviting me to come. I just have to tell you, here at New Mexico, we're at 5,000 feet. The temperature is about 3 degrees in Celsius, and the wind is running at about 40 kilometers per hour, if not 50. So it's a little different than what most of y'all are experiencing in the Caribbean. And right now, I would give my eye teeth to be in the Caribbean because I've got my jacket on inside the house and it's still not staying warm. But back to the subject about membership. First, you have to understand membership does not mean beating on members to grab anybody who breathes and drag them into your club so you can call them a member. That is a waste of time. You all probably already understood that, but it's amazing how many people don't understand that. In Rotary, membership is all about building great value for your members. So those members get to engage their passions and they have a great time doing it with other Rotarians. When you have good membership practices, you get 3 things. First, you get a strong and growing network of people. Those people that have a variety of perspectives, and they make a club a really interesting place to be. Second, if membership's working right, you attract more members with different expertise. And that helps when you start doing that community service so that you can really help your community become something better than it was before Rotary was there. And finally, the reason we talk about membership is that we talk about grow more, do more. The more people in a club, the better you can develop strong leaders. For example, I know on your district, you do well on membership, but you've got a lot of clubs that are less than 25 members. And my experience is it is a challenge finding good new leaders each year. Growing your club helps build a future where you insert new people and new energy every year and nobody gets burned out. That is why Rotary said 7 years ago that building strong membership is the #1 internal goal of Rotary. Polio's #1 on the outside, but membership is #1. A great membership experience is what Rotary is all about.
Right, and that is so true. And Mike, since you've now emphasized why membership is the priority for all of us in Rotary, and we know that these dear people on here, the club presidents-elect, are really really swamped at this stage as they're getting their plans ready, and they probably feel like, as George would put it, deer in the headlights. They're not sure what's coming at them. So what would you pass on, some wisdom to these presidents-elect, right? Yep, hold your head, the wisdom now, Mike, right?
I'm trying to get it.
Are the priorities that you would recommend to them as they get themselves ready to be president of their club on July 1st?
Well, you might want to think of yourself as the CEO of your club. And what that is in Rotary is the Chief Experience Officer. You establish that experience for your members. So here are 5 priorities. Build opportunities for members to develop good relationships with other members. That is what makes Rotary different. There are a lot of ways to help our community, but few give that type of satisfaction that Rotarians get from serving with friends. Natalie mentioned that yesterday, and I thought that really encapsulates one of the biggest things that a president's got to do is pull those folks together. Second, find out what each member's passion is. Then know enough about Rotary so you can engage that person in those passions. Third, here's one that's really important when you talk about membership. Build a membership team to help you. They set up ways to identify potential members, how to attract them, how to follow up so those folks get engaged. A good committee will take a lot of work off the shoulders of the president. And fourth, I offer you this. It isn't about you. It's about your members and your club. If you think this is your year where you get to do what you want, really think again. Your job is to build on the foundation left by the previous presidents, change some things so you get better, but make certain that you leave the club with a stronger base for the next president. If the next president of your club has an even better year than you did, you've done your job. And finally, and I'm going to ask Natalie, she gave us a bunch of ideas for this section. I'm going to ask Natalie to say what made her club really good. Natalie?
Thank you, Mike. The 5 priorities is to the recognition of the members. When members doing good things in the club for community, because they belong to the Rotary Club, I think it's important to thank them. And at the end of the year, when we make when we see what everything the club did, it's important to say thank you to members who did well with the club, for the club, with members. That's it. I don't know, it's what clear.
That's great, Natalie. That's absolutely perfect. Now, folks, if you have been paying attention, you're going to realize that we have been burrowing into the core values of Rotary. Think about the answers you heard. We're talking about fellowship here. We're talking about service. We haven't yet talked about diversity, but that's on our agenda as well. But we talk about integrity, and we talk about, above all here, leadership. You're going to be the leaders. So remember those 5 core values that Rotary espouses, and they're all built in to membership in Rotary. So I'm off to the races again, Mike. Now you are, and that was a little divergence, and you'll forgive me for that, but I just love our core principles, our core values, right? So you, my brother, are the chief guru and the grand poobah of the map in zone 34, right? So this is something that we've created recently. and you are the guy heading it up. And I know that you took over from George, but you are doing a fantastic job. So the majority of people on this call probably really haven't had time to bother or listen to or read your emails, and you send out a lot of them, about MAP. So I would like you to tell all of us here, including me, because I'm forgetting as well, why you think that MAP is so critical to all of us, and particularly to our presidents-elect and the membership chairs coming.
So MAP, and it's Rotary, so we have to reduce everything down to alphabet. MAP stands for Membership Action Plan. About 18 months ago, we sat down with our incoming director, Jeremy Hurst, and the zone team from zone 33 and 34 realized we were missing a lot of things. The first thing we were missing was we had very little data to help clubs understand what trends are going on in their clubs. So now we have data, and we're going to help you spot some of those simple trends here in just a few moments. We're going to show you the two most important trends that are going on in your club that can help you spot where's the best place to improve and spend your efforts and that of your membership committee. But second, once you understand trends, we realize you need ways to fix them if they aren't good trends. We realized when we offered training, it was really kind of training by fire hose. You may not know what I mean, but you go to one district training a year and you get 15 to 20 ideas all at once. It's like drinking from a fire hose. You cannot absorb it. I hit you all with a fire hose about 2 minutes ago when I told you about 5 priorities. And I did it in about 60 to 90 seconds. That isn't enough time for you to play with the ideas. Adults learn by hearing others who have done something, and they also have to have a chance to ask questions. Well, if you do it the way I did and just tell you 5 things, that doesn't work too well. Too many ideas at one time. So the second thing we did with MAP was to have monthly MAP webinars on the second Monday of every month with bite-sized chunks, we call them. We present one topic, and we have a successful club leader or leaders explain the steps they took to solve a problem. I've asked Natalie to place a list of the past webinars in our chat, so I'm not certain if Natalie is doing that or whether Leah is doing that, so that you can find the webinars that can help your club. So is Natalie, are you doing that, or is Leah doing that? Should they look for that in chat?
Natalie, you can put it in. It's fine. You can go ahead and put it in the chat.
So that brings up the third big change. We now concentrate only on proven techniques. We don't get into a bunch of theory and stuff. We just give you stuff that works, delivered by leaders who continue to succeed. So when I talk about the 3 big changes through MAP, good data, bite-sized chunks, so you can understand what you need to do, and proven techniques delivered by successful leaders. That is what MAP is based on.
So Mike, you've actually spoken a little bit, and you've spoken about some trends. And how would we know where to find our trends and how to fix them if they're not great trends?
Well, we want you to know if you've got great trends as well, because if you got great trends, you don't have to try to fix very much. You just want to keep it going on. A lot of your clubs have that going on. So some of what we're going to be showing you in these trends is you've got good things going on. Don't forget those good things. Keep them going. But we found two very important indicators that point out where your club needs help. They're called attrition and attraction. So let's start with attrition. Lyle, help me out here. Can you give us a short definition of what attrition is?
Mike, it's always dangerous to ask me to say anything in a few words or short definition. And the members already know that, so I can see a few of them are laughing, right? But, you know, all of us are going to lose members every year. And there's nothing we can do about some of it. For instance, when I was governor, I passed a decree that there would be a moratorium on death. Nobody was allowed to die in my year as governor. That didn't work too well, I could tell you. It was a bad year, all right? A lot of people left us in that year. So that's the stuff you can't control. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can control. And I think that this is what MAP is going to address. Attrition, the loss of members from your club that is controllable.
So let me just ask you all and find out what the audience thinks. If y'all would, I'm going to ask you to either show your hand on your screen or turn on your screen and give us a show of your hand in front of your face, actually, so we can see it. I'm going to ask you to choose what you think the percent of people that are lost in the average club on your district. I'm going to first say 5%. And those that think it's 5%, raise your hand. Then I'm going to say 10%, 15%, or 20% or more. Okay, so let's start. How many of y'all think that each year the average club loses 5%? Just raise your hand or show it on your screen. All right, not many at 5%. Natalie, you help me out on the counts. Looks like I didn't see any. Did you? Oh, I saw one. Okay. How many people think the average club loses 10% of your members each year? I'm seeing a few more. Natalie, what did you count? Oh, I see the hands now.
A little more than the first one.
Okay, so we got a fair number that said that. How many think 15%? Okay, a little fewer. And how many people think 20%? Okay, we see about less of them on that, right, Natalie? Okay, the answer on your district is about 10% each year. Really, really good clubs lose about 5%. And let me give you some praise for this. On Zone 34, most clubs lose about 15%. So y'all are doing something right. And when I said, don't forget what you're doing right, it's important that you realize if your club is down there around 10%, that's pretty good. Just keep doing what you're doing, keeping that contact going with your customer, and that customer would be your member. So if you would right now, I don't know how many of you have access to your email. I sent you a link in an email at around 9 o'clock this morning and asked you to click on it. What that has is a link that you can click to see your club's attrition and attraction rate. But right now we want to look at your club's attrition rate. When you look at that email, you will see, and I'm going to show you real quickly. I'm going to do a share screen if I may. Well, let's see here. That's not I'm sorry. It's not grabbing my share screen. So I'll tell you what you'll see on it. You'll see your attrition rate. You'll see your attraction rate. And then out to the right, you'll see your net growth. So how many clubs saw an attrition rate of 10% or less? To show your show of hands or in front of you, or show it on your indicator, your reaction button. Okay, I know there are more than that, so we will try to make certain that you know how to use that link that I sent you in the email. If any of you had troubles, please email me back and let me know, because we entered all your information over the weekend so that you could have access to that information. How many people had attrition over 15%? Okay, that's where, when you look on that screen, you're going to see in the corner is a button you can click on that says, here are recommended strategies that you can use in order to reduce that attrition. And like I said, those are strategies that came from successful clubs that have turned their clubs around and improved their attrition. So now let's talk about the other trend. There we go. So as you can see, the starting membership in this club was 32. The average attraction rate, we'll talk about in a second, but the average attrition rate here was 8.5, a little better than what your average club has. But look over at the average net gain or loss. This is a 3-year average. We use 3 years because that gives us more of a trend. You'll have ups and downs, especially in smaller clubs. One person can throw this percentage off in any 1 year, but your real culture of the club is determined by a 3-year average. And you see here an average attraction rate of 4.7%. So the attrition's pretty good. We're going to talk about that attraction right now. So if I ask you, what is a good definition of attraction? I'm going to turn to Natalie again. Natalie, what would you say? Just a fairly quick definition of attraction. You don't have to sound like a past district governor and tell us a long, long response like someone else.
Well, for me, it's a person of new members who attract each year.
That's it precisely. And by the way, I realize I'm speaking much longer than Lyle, so I also am a past district governor. So if the average club loses about 10% of its members, how many new members would you have to add in order to stay just the same size, Natalie?
Excuse me.
So if you lost 10%, what attraction rate would you have to have? About how many members would you have to add just to stay the same size from 1 year to the next?
20.
Okay, well, it depends on your club. But if you lose 10%, you need to gain 10%. So the attraction rate would need to be about 10%. Okay. So the great thing about 70-30 is that your average club regularly attracts more members than you lose. For the last few years, your district has consistently been one of the top districts in North America. So how many have looked at your numbers on the email I sent? It looks like there are about a third of you were able to see that. We find these averages that we're talking about, they continue from year to year unless you do something to change them. When we start talking about the attrition being below 10%, if you've got high attrition, what we found some clubs tend to do to try to fix that is bring in more and more and more members. When they're real careful about making certain that that person knows what they're getting into, that they talk to them, and we have a webinar on this. How do you expose potential members to what your club and Rotary really means? Well, what the webinar will show you from a couple of folks that have done this very well and have good membership results as a result. What that does is it makes certain when they come in, they know what they bought. It's not just the money, it's their time. and they also know how to get involved. So those are the sorts of things. If you've got, I'll use the example of a bucket with a big hole in the bottom of it. You don't fix that bucket by pouring more and more stuff in it. You fix the holes in the bottom and minimize those and then add into it. So when we start talking about attraction, if you're over 15% attraction, that means you have pretty good habits. Your members know how to ask people, they know how to interest them, they know how to bring them in. So if you don't have it up around 15%, you probably need to look at some of these webinars on how do you attract people? How do you follow through? How do you do things to make certain that the members that are joining are plugged in immediately and are starting to feel that they're part of the action and they've got a chance to engage their passions? So we've given you the basics of a membership action plan for your club. We'll give you more information as we start the new year. But please use this page, the link that I sent you. And there are a bunch of other pages on that site that can help you track, not only develop a goal, but track your progress. And I would ask you, have 2 of your members, each time we hold one of these MAP webinars, have them come on the second Monday of every month and get simple ideas to improve how you attract and retain members. So you've got the essence of what membership action plan is. It's up to you to implement it. So Lyle, I give it back to you.
Thanks, Mike. There are a number of people who in the chat group said that they didn't get the email, while a lot of people didn't get the email. So I think we'll have to tweak that connection. But some people said the link worked really well. And so therefore, it's a email address problem, I suspect. So
I'll work with Leah, and after we get off the call tonight, and find a way so you can give me feedback, because I know we entered the vast majority of your names if you were a president-elect. But the other people who didn't get it, will make certain to enter you so you can get this information.
I think most of the persons in the chat who were saying they didn't get it are actually secretaries-elect. So Mike, can you confirm who you sent the email to? Was it just president-elects?
We had to enter just the presidents-elect. I didn't have good information on the secretaries, but we will get the secretaries entered in and then get them a link as well. It'll probably be another couple of days before we can get that done.
Okay,
Sounds
so
great.
Leah, I guess we're just about on the money now for time. So I would just like to wrap up by thanking Mike for taking time out of his vacation, and thanking Natalie for, I know we stressed you, Nats, I know your job keeps you at work late, but you did it. You came out and you were fantastic. So thanks so much. And I really hope that we've whetted the appetites of all of our future leaders. And remember that we, your team, are there to help you at any time. If you have problems, if you have questions, Natalie is your district membership chair. I am there to assist Mike and of course, Natalie as well. So ask your questions and good luck, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful time as president and secretary for next year. So thank you. And Leah, are you going to deduct points for us being over, or are we okay?
No, you're actually short. You were at 26 minutes and 50 seconds, so you're good.
Cool. Mike, you're a genius.
Yes.
If it was me now running it, we'd be running late.
Oh Lord. Okay, so what we are asking the participants to do, as usual, is put your questions in the chat, and we will have those fully ventilated at Thursday's discussion session. So place them in now so you don't forget them, and we will collate them and bring them up again on Thursday and start the discussion session with those. Of course, you're free to ask additional questions on Thursday, even if you didn't pose them here tonight. We now move into the second part of our membership presentation. So we invite DGE Brian to discuss membership with a DEI focus. DGE Brian, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Leah. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. And the first minute has already ended. And during this session, what I would like to speak about is the interrelationship between membership development and DEI. Now, we've heard a lot about DEI, and I can assure you it's something as Rotarians will continue to hear more about, because DEI are a set of closely linked values that are fundamental to the principles of Rotary. Now, the concept of DEI is an emergent concept. For example, when I joined Rotary, there was no talk about DEI. There were no women in Rotary. It was an all-man's club. Fortunately, things have changed. We have progressed as an institution of Rotary. And today, we are an organization that continues to embrace DEI as I mentioned, a fundamental principle to the organization of Rotary. But what exactly is DEI? And I know we've been through this many times, but when we talk about diversity, for example, we need to consider not just ethnicity, we need to consider gender. I mentioned at one time Rotary was men only. We need to consider nationality, income levels, different abilities. How many clubs, for example, have disabled members? And as, for example, polio is, our fight against polio is one of the tenets of Rotary. How many clubs include people who have been affected by polio? Not very many, but why shouldn't we? We also need to consider people from perhaps different religious backgrounds, people of different sexual orientation. And I know in many clubs, inviting people from different sexual orientation to become members of existing clubs can be a challenge. But it's something that, as progressive Rotarians, we have to consider. Now, embracing DEI and managing the interrelationship between DEI and membership growth is something that needs to be done sensibly. For example, if you're a club of, say, purple people, and you realize you don't have any green people in your club, that doesn't mean you just run out and grab the first green person who comes in and says, okay, we've got a green person now, we are a diversified club. It has to be more than that. So you don't bring in people of diverse backgrounds just for the sake of doing it. You have to cling to the initial principles, the original principles, where you look for members who can contribute to Rotary. So it has to be a balance between bringing in members of diversified backgrounds and bringing in members who can contribute to Rotary. I mean, I often ask myself a question, and I'm sure many of you ask yourselves the same question as well. Is it better to have a club that doesn't add any members over a year than a club that adds members who are of little or no value to the club? Which one is better? Which one works better? And these are the issues as presidents, as secretaries, as leaders of your individual clubs, you'll have to consider. For example, does bringing in someone of a different sexual orientation offend existing members to the extent where one or two of the existing members might leave if you introduce someone of a different sexual orientation? How do you deal with that? And that is an issue I am aware that many clubs have had to deal with and will continue to have to deal with. So in dealing with DEI issues, as I mentioned, we have to understand the interrelationships. We have to understand the values, and we have to understand the contribution that potential members can bring to clubs. And in understanding all of these issues, it is important for us to understand that DEI issues, membership issues are not separate issues. We're really talking about the same thing. It's one subject. What I would like to do now, unfortunately, PDG David was supposed to join on this session, but I'm aware that he has electricity challenges in Barbados, so he can't join. But there are one or two other PDGs who have joined this session, and I would like to ask PDG Roger Bose to join at this time to indicate whether in his experience and in the clubs that he has visited and continues to visit in Trinidad and Tobago and elsewhere, what sort of issues he has encountered in clubs dealing with membership growth and embracing DEI philosophies. So over to you, Roger. Sorry to put you on the spot, but over to you.
Indeed, you put me on the spot, Brian, yeah. But that's fine. I think that everybody on this call, including the presidents-elect, have to learn how to react right away and have something to contribute, because you never know when you're called upon. This topic is really interesting in more than one way, because there is so much of a difference in terms of culture and our environment and the way that we were brought up in the islands as against North America and other places. And I think that one of the things that we may not necessarily bring to the forefront of the conversation sufficiently, in my opinion, is that difference in our cultural background and the way that we've been brought up with regard to this topic. So I feel strongly that as District Center 30, we perhaps should have that kind of conversation from the point of view of wanting to align with what Rotary International's guidelines are and what the difference is with respect to how we have been brought up, I guess, and what our expectations and our values are. So having said that, I am obviously very open to what I know DEI suggests that we do. But at the same time, I feel strongly about the fact that there should not be a glaring should I say, bad effect on clubs with respect to, existing members and their feelings. So whether we're talking about the subject of DEI or we encapsulating other things under the heading of DEI with respect to differences between people, there is, in my opinion, something that needs to be talked about quite openly, and probably the presidents elect with their own clubs or in clusters, about how and why there may be a negative effect resulting from some of the things that you just spoke about there, DGE Brian, and how to find a way to not drive current members away for the purposes of what we are speaking about here. So my contribution off the cuff is simply that I really feel strongly that this is something that we should talk about very openly. I don't feel, and not that you said this, but I don't feel that we should, before I make that comment, I want to say that I'm very aware of the fact that Rotary is perceived differently. Rotary operates differently in different parts of the world because of that cultural phenomenon that I'm speaking about now. And it's very successful in different parts of the world, although we all follow RI's guidelines, because we are cognizant of the differences in culture, etc. And we take that and we take that as part of our decision making and part of the way that we move forward. I just think that 70-30 may not have sufficiently spoken about this topic and openly discuss it, so that we do not lose members as a result, but we have this very open conversation about how we accept what is being spoken about and how we move forward with it going into the future. That's my contribution. Now, remember, I'm a PDG, so I could start a part 2 right now if you like.
No, sorry. I was not able to unmute right away, but PDG Roger, thanks. And as usual, your contribution has been excellent. And I think you raised a number of issues, including the one of challenging clubs to have the conversation. Because it's a conversation that, as Rotarians, I believe we must have. There are certain things we cannot pretend don't exist. We have to acknowledge that the realities of the implications of DEI are with us. And I think you're urging clubs to have the conversation is an excellent idea. One of the philosophical implications of DEI is that each individual is different. And similarly, each club, each Rotary club is different. And you cannot have a common approach that works in every single club. And as incoming presidents, I think it is important for you to understand the temperature, the culture, and the mood of your club, and the willingness of your club to embrace DEI in all of its spheres. It's a challenge, but as Mike said earlier, membership is critical for growth of Rotary and for the survival of Rotary. So I would like to leave these thoughts with you. I know that many of you have your own opinions. Put your questions in the chat, and it's something that we can discuss. It's certainly a conversation that I'm happy to continue to be involved in, because without understanding and without addressing DEI, our membership will not grow. So thanks, and back to you, Leah.
Thanks, DGE, Brian, and PDG Roger for those interventions. We now call on AB as we move forward in the agenda.
Right, so we're making good on time, and get ready for presentation number 2 that's coming up. So it's my pleasure to introduce our next presenter for this afternoon session. It's Cindy Horneman, who's a past district governor, 7430. As a member of the Emos Rotary Club for the past 20 years, Cindy has been active in many positions at both club and district level, including club president 2011-2012 and district governor 2018-2019. She is currently the foundation chair for District 7030. She holds bachelor degrees in public relations and economics and a master's degree in business from Ghana University. For the past 20 years, Cindy has owned and operated a wholesale business where she initiated selling handmade in the USA items to over 450 galleries and stores throughout North America. She and her husband, Chris, enjoys numerous activities, particularly world travel, having visited over 70 countries. So let's extend a warm Caribbean welcome to Cindy.
Well, thank you very much. That was very nice. As you said, I'm past district governor Cindy Horneman, and I feel kind of like the old one because I was governor 2018, 2019, and the two before me were like younger ones, but I am not old. I want everyone to know that. So I had the privilege of meeting your past district governor Trevor in Houston last year, and we decided to develop an international service project. So we had a group of Rotarians from our district travel to St. Kitts in January, where I met Leah, and so now I'm here while we were doing service projects. So I'm going to start sharing the screen here. So you can all see this. So you're all going to be leaders in the next Rotary year. You're going to be club presidents, AGs, and others. So today we're going to talk about perfecting your planning to get started for the Rotary year. So I'm all about having fun while we do our volunteer service as Rotarians, but many of us, we're all business people and our lives are so busy. So as a club leader, I can't stress to you, the more you plan now, take the time now and have things in place, the more enjoyment you and your members will have during the Rotary year, allowing you as the leader of your group to be more effective. Your district has a wonderful tool called the Annual Planning Guide, which is part of the President's Toolkit. It's very detailed. However, I encourage you to use it. Fill in those details. Also on myrotary.org, the Learning Center has several tools that you can do on your own time for utilizing in getting ready for your year by taking online courses. But let's say again, I'm a pretty simple person. So I want you to think PAL. We're all pals here, right? And it has to be a new acronym that I just made up. But what is that? Really, planning is all about people, administration, and leadership. And if you follow PAL, your year as president can not only be simpler, but you'll be extremely effective. So let's talk about people. And you just heard a membership talk. As volunteers, the peoples of our clubs and their engagement are key to our whole Rotary success. Have you really taken a look at all the members of your club? Do you know their strengths? Do you know their interests? Do you know anything about them? What about your club officers? Do you have them in place? What about the future? Make it easy. If you're having a difficult time getting officers, start looking at a president-elect now so you can have smooth transitions during the year. If you don't have this identified, it's people. Start now. What about club committee chairs? Do you have more committee chairs in place? And these are key: membership, foundation, public image, youth, service projects, fellowships. Other clubs have other things, fundraising. Let's say you have a small club or you have new people. Can you take those positions and can you consider co-chairs so that people learn about the positions so they can start to get more engaged? Defining the roles for your people are key. I mean, are really key to a successful year and good club management. Makes sense, right? Now let's take a look at something that nobody really likes to do, but that's key, is the administration. Sometimes that's the most challenging to get in place. But if you start planning now, the task can be much simpler. So let's start out with a big picture. Take a look at your calendar for the whole Rotary year. You can plan it out now. You can always be flexible and change. And then you communicate all the key events to all your members now. And guess what? You're going to get more participation. You're going to get more engagement. And furthermore, that can help you get membership because everybody knows what everybody else is doing. Look at your district calendar. Don't double book yourself for a major fundraiser the day of a district training event. Plan that out now. You have big fundraisers. You have big service projects. Look at the whole year. With that, do you as a club president have a weekly agenda plan? It doesn't have to be all detailed with every speaker. Maybe you want to consider a topic once a month. Maybe you want to consider a speaker. Maybe you want to have fellowship. Start thinking now. What about governance? Yes, that's part of administration. And every Rotary club and district around the world does this a little bit differently, but we all need to have a constitution. We all need to follow our local government regulations. When have you looked at your governance rules last in your club? Are they updated? In your finances, do you have a club budget prepared? Is the club budget from the previous year completed so that when you take over, everything will be up to date? That's about communicating, and then communicate it to your club. There should be no secrets in terms of the finances. Now let's talk about internal communications. Okay. And sometimes it depends on the size of your club. Do you have a newsletter, a website? Do you use email, Facebook, WhatsApp's very popular, other social media? Do those coincide with the new Rotary year? Do you know that Rotary has monthly topics that sometimes focuses on the different 7 areas of focus that you could help communicate with? Do you also have relationships with the local media? Do you invite them to your meetings? A way to attract members, a way to get engagement. Do you have with your club secretaries? Do you have all your Rotary credentials in place for members? Do your club secretaries, do you as an officer know how to enter people into my Rotary? Though there's a lot more, and Rotary really knows how to add the administration. But if you look broad, then use your other tools, it will make it much easier. Do it now. Now, to me, really the most important is leadership. Guess what? You're the cheerleader. It's up to you. Yes, you have a team, but with your membership, and I've said this before, do you know them? What about the numbers? Do you have goals? You heard the membership talk about attraction, retention, engagement, DEI, orientation. What are you? There's all the rules. And again, I'm going to say I'm simple. What can you do differently as a club president that hasn't been done before? Or maybe you don't want to change too much, but you want to try a couple different things to get more of your members involved and add. What about the Rotary Foundation? Do you know your numbers? You know your polio numbers. What about your annual fund, your Paul Harris participants, your grant participation? Set a goal and utilize your foundation and the involvement to coincide with membership involvement and public image. Those three areas are a team that can make you successful. So service projects. Sometimes new things come up at the last minute, and that's okay, but try to plan for the year. What can your club and your club size reasonably accomplish and do and get involvement from the members? Remember, if they know in advance that you have a major project coming up in a month, then everybody can plan on being together. Now, you've all heard about Rotary Club Central. Utilize it. Once you learn, the first time you go into it, it's, like all computer things, it's a little tricky. But input your goals into Rotary Club Central. And as you achieve those goals, maybe once a quarter or 2 times a year, communicate to where you are with all your members so everybody knows what you're doing. Also, plan for the future. When's the last time you got together with your club and did a strategic plan? Or now they call it the action plan. If you do that now, you can also plan, where do you want to take your club for the future? How does that tie into the Rotary goals? And then you don't leave the next person stuck. So there's an easy transition. And then you can continue to grow your club, and it'll be also easier to attract officers. Every district has resources. We just heard your membership resources. I can tell they're anxious to help you. Use your assistant governors. Use your district committees. Every one of those committees up there has a district representation. So let's get back. Plan, 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 and even more planning. So if you take that simple outline that we just talked about called PAL, People, Administration, and Leadership, you're going to have an awesome Rotary year. And good luck to all of you. Thank you. And I'll be glad to take any questions if you have them. I was quick.
Yes, very quick, Cindy. Very, very quick. You came in, let's check the time. You came in 15 minutes under time. Wow. Very good.
I'll be glad to take any questions if anybody has them or.
Okay, yeah, we do have an extra few minutes. Normally the questions would be at the Thursday session, but since you may not be able to join us on Thursday, I will let them have the opportunity to give you any questions directly now.
You all got your planning done, so you don't need to worry about it, right?
Can I ask a question, Leah?
Certainly.
Cindy, what would you tell, many a time we have seen and experienced and spoke with incoming presidents who feel extremely intimidated. What you laid out there, for example, for somebody who did not ever see a plan in the way that you described it, put to them might immediately feel intimidated with regard to the amount of information that you just provided. And while I understand the concept of, plan and use each of those individual guidelines towards, creating goals, etc., what is your advice for people who feel overwhelmed even before they start?
I see that all the time. I don't think there's a district in the world that doesn't have that. If you're feeling that way and overwhelmed, because one of the things Rotary does is provide you so much information, take a step back. Okay, you're one person, but you have, and the people that I met in your district, utilize the other Rotarians, utilize your past president, utilize your assistant governors. Give your governor a call if you have something to talk about. They can help you step back and just plan, look at the broad, and then do one step at a time, and you're going to be fine. Hope that's what you wanted. I'm not sure. I put you all to sleep, huh? I know that
Do we
was.
have any other questions for Cindy?
Leah, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Cindy, for that. PDG Cindy for that. Those tips. My major concern has been, and for a while now, the younger Rotarians transitioning into Rotary, and perhaps you might be able to share some experience in terms of how do you deal with the youthful Rotarians who don't think that some of the traditions are necessary, or we don't have to keep a board meeting every month and we can just do everything on WhatsApp, and we don't necessarily have to get the engagement fully of our members. The board can make the decisions and the board can run with it. And more I'm seeing some of that, and it's really not doing well, serving the club well in terms of moving from one year to the next and transitioning from one year to the next. What are some of the tips you can share with us?
That's
perhaps
also
help you?
happening all over the Rotary world. We're actually pretty proud, and I've met some examples that I'll talk to you about. Rotary is full of traditions, and one of the things I love about Rotary is the traditions. However, we also recognize that there are some age differences.
Yes.
So there's several things that you can do. Is one, don't get caught up as you got to do it this way.
Right.
Rotary is evolving. There are several things you can do with respect to, we call them young professionals or alternate Rotary groups. Several clubs have started a different type of meeting place. So they may have their traditional meeting 3 days a week in the morning, or 3 weeks a month in the morning, and then 1 day a month. And we just had one in my club, a night meeting at a local brewery to attract young people. And that started out to be an education center, as what Rotary is about. It's now going to turn into a service group. As a result of some of the young professionals, we have 4 different young professional groups as parts of Rotary clubs that are kind of developing in their own way. So you've got to let it evolve. There are Rotary rules. They still have to have bylaws. Some of them, we have a teachers group. They couldn't come to meetings. There's different dues structures for them. Somebody asked about that. So we have a autism group. Somebody talked about disabilities. That was started as a result of an idea a member had. So in short, keep traditions, but let new ideas come forth. In your Rotary year as president, if you can try something simple, something special, and something different once, if the younger people want to try something new, let them try it. You have to manage it a little bit, but let them try it. That's probably one of the most challenging things to do. So I don't know if that answered your questions, but see it all the time.
Thank you. I'm asking it for some of the presidents who are here and who probably won't want to ask the question. But thank you. I think they're useful tips.
Any other questions? I think I'm seeing something in the chat. Okay, yes, Mike. The advantage of satellite clubs is that people can be part of a club, but as Cindy says, have their own meeting time. There is a formal satellite structure, but there is great flexibility. Ask Natalie or Lyle for more information. This is one of the biggest growth areas. And Peter has a comment. More emphasis should be placed on mandatory and non-mandatory requirements. Okay, we have a question from Marlon. What are your thoughts on replacing general meeting minutes with a newsletter?
Actually, I know some clubs that have done that. One, not very effectively, because the purpose of the newsletter is to talk about all things of what's going on, upcoming events, etc. Whereas the purpose of minutes of a meeting was to talk about what happened. Another club very successfully, because in their newsletter, they include the minutes of the meeting. So you have to figure out what's effective for you in terms of communicating with your club and members the best.
Okay, looks like, oh, sorry, Cindy,
I just said, I hope that helped. I don't know.
Okay, Marlon, can we get a thumbs up if that helped you? Okay, yes, he said it helped. Okay, if there are no other questions, we can now move to our announcement segment as we wind down this evening's training session. As you know, it's our final virtual training session. You have been with us for 5 weeks, stuck it out, all of you. We are so happy. We know you must be too, as you are more prepared for your journey as President and Secretaries-elect. Our announcements for this evening, reminder for Thursday's discussion session. It will be our last virtual discussion session. Remember, last week we did not get to do our discussion room session on the Rotary Club Central goals updating. So we will take some time on Thursday to do that, just about 20 minutes. We will put you in your groups with your countries. We want the president and secretaries-elect of each club to be in similar groups. Yes, Peter, I too have a challenge. I have to go to church, but it was scheduled. Then we will also be doing a Q&A segment from today's sessions, from today's training. So please bring your questions or submit them in the chat. We will have that Q&A segment for you. We also need to remind you, for those who wish to review our sessions, the recordings and all of the presentations can be found at this website, and I'm putting it in the chat now for everyone. We share it every week, but still sharing it again today. And lastly, a reminder to please visit the Rotary Learning Center to do your training by roles. And once you've done your trainings by roles, you can then move on to all of the other resources that they have on the Rotary Learning Center. It is one of our biggest Rotary International tools. It is free to us. And that is, well, when I say free, I mean, we pay dues for it, but reasonably priced for the amount of resources that are on there. So please utilize it as much as you can, incorporate it into your learning and your activities with your clubs. With that said, I'll now invite Rotarian Althea to make an announcement for district conference, a very, very, very important announcement. So please give Althea your attention. Althea, over to you.
Thank you, incoming district trainer Leah, and good evening to everyone. So I'm just here to encourage everyone to complete the form that we sent out with your flight and hotel information. It's key for us to start giving you an awesome welcome to Grenada. We want you to get here and be welcomed at the airport without lots of hassle. Because once we have the information on when everyone is coming, we will pick you up on time, we'll get you to your hotel, get you situated so you can start, really feeling the Grenadian vibes. We are waiting for you, we are preparing for you. So please encourage anyone else who has not filled out the form, please encourage everyone to fill it out. We would like everyone to complete it by Friday. So far, we only have 90 forms and we have almost 300 persons coming in. So it would be a big challenge if the form is not completed properly. So for logistical reasons, we are appealing to everyone to complete the form. What I will do, I will put the link in the chat, and it should have been circulated also, but I'll put the link also in the chat. So we're looking forward to seeing everyone in Grenada. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Rotary and Alpia. I know everyone is looking forward to Grenada. So please, as she indicated, fill out that form. You want to receive your warm Grenadian spicy welcome. Please help them give you that wonderful welcome that they have planned for you. We now invite DGE Brian to give us our closing remarks for this evening's session. DGE Brian, over to you.
Certainly looking forward to Grenada, like I'm sure everyone else is. And we've got one more session on Thursday, but today was the last of this type of session. Thanks to Mike, Natalie, and Cindy. I wouldn't forget you this time, PDG Cindy. Thanks to three of you, and of course to PDG Lyle. District Governor Leslie, I think you're on as well. And you've been on most weeks, and you've been a remarkable source of support for the entire team. So thanks again for your leadership and support overall. And of course, to the other PDGs, including Roger, who I keep putting on the spot. He doesn't mind because Roger likes to be put on the spot. And the other PDGs who, again, joined to support Leah and Liz, who's the existing trainer, and the remarkable training team that we have, our district has. So thanks to all of the incoming presidents, secretaries, office holders. See you in Grenada next week. And I'm really looking forward to this. So until Thursday and until next week, à bientôt.
Thank you so much, DG Brian. Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming on tonight. You finished 5 minutes early, so there you go.